With just 12 hours until the polls open, WJCL 22 News has what you need to know before you cast your vote. From the big races in our area that will be felt across the country to the local races in our community. Plus, when your vote will be counted, no matter how you vote. Our Commitment 2020 election countdown starts now.
And thank you for joining us tonight for our 2020 election countdown. This time tomorrow, polls will be officially closed in one of the most historic elections in modern history. Tonight, we begin with 3 critical Senate races right here in our corner of the country that could change how things are done in Washington. Our Chris Tatum shows us what's at stake on both sides.
From the issues,
police reform,
the pandemic,
to the candidates,
I'm definitely tired of the negativity,
to the craziness.
I think I'm as fatigued as a lot of people are.
The election's on just about everybody's mind and last nerve.
I am ready for it to be done.
And with so much at stake, people are taking no chances with their vote, their voice.
Whether you're on one side or the other, it's just important to get out there and do it.
Nor with the big stick our corner of the country carries right now. Georgia's regular Senate race.
We have to have a healthy economy.
It's time to drop it off in person.
It's special election Senate race.
To make sure that we're following what our founding fathers intended.
You know, people are just excited about being a part.
We know that young people of color experience the brunt of this.
And the South Carolina Senate race that could bench one of President Trump's staunchest supporters.
But a vaccine is around the corner.
Right now, Rome is on fire here in South Carolina.
It's been 15 years since either state had a Democrat in the Senate, but most political experts agree.
All these races, to Georgia, one South Carolina, do have the potential to be quite an upset.
Bruce Mallard teaches political science at Savannah State University, says these 3 Senate races represent far more than just bragging rights for whichever party wins them.
The biggest power the Senate has in a lot of ways is appointing, confirming presidential appointments to the courts, ambassadors, judgeships, treaties.
Mallard says both states' so-called red state status is relatively new, that before 2003, both were Democrat-dominated.
Georgia is going through some change where, especially ethnically and racially, it's not the same as it used to be. For example, between 1980 and 2010, the white population dropped from 72% to 54%. It's still a majority.
But not necessarily a big enough majority to hold on to these Senate seats. And while South Carolina's demographic shift is somewhat slower, Mallard says its Senate race proves the times they are a-changing there, too.
There are only 4 seats needed to change. If Biden were elected, you'd really only have to change 3 seats because the 50-50 tie would be broken by the vice president who presides, who would be a Democrat.
Sure, this election may be one of the most contentious in U.S. history. Even so, people of both parties find common ground on one point. America's future rests in the hands of her people. So,
vote.
Vote. Go out and vote.
Vote.
Get out and vote. Chris Tatum, WJCL 22 News.
All right, we want to get to the latest on each of these races in the final hours of the campaign. We start with Danae Bucci, live tonight in Savannah. Danae?
Dale, Georgia holds some of the most closely watched races in the entire country. And as we move closer to Election Day, the race between incumbent David Perdue and Jon Ossoff seems to be a toss-up. Now, the two spent the final days of their campaigns reaching out to supporters. The incumbent Senator David Perdue spent part of his day in Savannah as part of a statewide fly-around tour, appealing to voters about his ties to President Trump. His opponent, Jon Ossoff, was in Atlanta today at a campaign event with President Barack Obama. The two Georgia natives will be watching the return numbers in different ways tomorrow. Senator David Perdue will have an in-person event tomorrow in the Atlanta area, while Ossoff will be encouraging voters at some Atlanta area polls and will likely have some virtual remarks with no official campaign party planned. Now, the polls currently have the two neck and neck, and both men say they are hoping to help Georgians in Washington, D.C. Reporting from Savannah, Danae Bucci, WJCL 22 News.
Danae, thank you. The special election to fill the seat of Johnny Isakson is the most likely to be going to a runoff. One of the leading candidates admitted as much today. During a final campaign stop in Savannah, Senator Kelly Loeffler says she fully expects to head to a runoff with Democratic candidate Raphael Warnock, perhaps. Loeffler has spent the final days of her campaign telling voters she is the candidate in this race that is most like President Trump. It's been something she's been battling fellow conservative frontrunner Doug Collins on since he entered the race, though Trump has not endorsed either candidate, choosing to sit on the sidelines on this one. Still, the last two men to hold the office of governor in Georgia have picked a side, with current Governor Brian Kemp backing Loeffler and former Governor Nathan Deal backing Collins. As for Warnock, he's rallied most of the Democratic support and endorsement, and he spent the final day of the campaign in Atlanta at an event with former President Barack Obama. In South Carolina's most contested U.S. Senate race, the two candidates have been making their final push for voters. That includes going head-to-head one final time before Election Day. Here's our Daniel Robinson.
Incumbent Senator Lindsey Graham and challenger Jamie Harrison clashing during their final debate over issues related to criminal justice reform and health care. During Friday's debate in Columbia, Graham asked Harrison if he would have voted to confirm Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court, the confirmation that has carried much controversy with both parties, but the nominee that Graham helped push through. Harrison not answering the question, but criticizing Graham for being fixated on whether judicial nominees are liberal or conservative. Healthcare also a hot topic, Harrison calling for Medicaid expansion, while Graham said that former President Obama's Affordable Care Act has been a disaster for South Carolina. Graham believes Americans shouldn't be denied medical coverage or insurance due to a pre-existing condition, but is against Medicare for all. Harrison has also been campaigning on wanting to lower the cost of insurance and prescription drugs. The two traveling across the state over the weekend, with Harrison in the upstate speaking with voters and Graham in Beaufort County. Political polls show this race will be a close one, and if Harrison wins, it would be one seat needed to give Democrats a majority in the United States Senate. Reporting to Beaufort County, Daniel Robinson, WJCL 22 News.
Now to security on the streets. Savannah police say they're ready for anything tomorrow, as well as the coming days and weeks ahead as election results start to roll in. Savannah Police Chief Roy Minter says safety after the election is a nationwide concern, with many people protesting, making their voices heard across the country this year. He says there's no way to predict how people might react to the election results, no matter which way it goes.
We have already prepared an operations plan. We've already looked at staffing. We've already looked at scheduling. We will be on a conference call later this week with some of our fellow law enforcement partners in the county, in the state, and probably some of our federal law enforcement partners, making sure that we have plans in place in the event that we have to respond to any type of incident.
Savannah Mayor Van Johnson says those plans are in place regardless of the outcome of the election. If you're not one of the many Georgians and South Carolinians who have voted already, and you plan to head to the polls tomorrow, here are a few things that you need to know. Polling locations in both states are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Anyone in line by 7 p.m. will be allowed to vote. You can only vote at your designated polling place, which you can find online or by calling your elections office. As for absentee ballots, they must be delivered to your local elections office or be placed inside an absentee ballot drop box by 7 p.m. tomorrow night. We have a full list of drop box locations for you on our website, WJCL.com. With historic early voting numbers, both states are expecting a much different process election night. Both states have already begun processing advanced votes. Georgia started a while ago. South Carolina could legally begin yesterday. The official count won't begin until polls close tomorrow night. All new tonight, a one-on-one interview with Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger. Our Stephen Moody with what we can expect Election Day.
The polls will open and eventually close on Tuesday, meaning the state and the country will be looking for results of Georgia's elections. But how fast will we have results? According to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, not that long.
It will not drag on for 2 weeks. There will be states where it does drag on. Voters need to understand that your state election board, in a bipartisan fashion, made a vote that you can begin the process at the county level when you receive those absentee ballots. And they can start scanning those Monday. Now, they can scan but not tabulate, just like we're scanning the ballots today but aren't tabulating the in-person voting.
So instead of weeks, most results should be available Tuesday night or Wednesday or Thursday at the latest.
That really saves them time so that we have most of the results. Some will have, depending on what the difference is, how close those races are and how many outstanding absentee ballots. But some of those races we'll have Tuesday night for y'all. But we'll definitely have most of those by Wednesday at some point, Thursday at the very latest.
Raffensperger believes that the state that has had several issues in previous elections will be one that other states look to after Tuesday.
I think that some states haven't done what we've done here in Georgia. So you're going to really be pleased that people will become one of the models that people are looking at. How did they get that done? And so we've worked hard, and I know that your county election directors are working hard to make sure that we have good, fair, honest elections.
Reporting for WJCL 22 News, I'm Stephen Moody.
Straight ahead, the race to 270. We're breaking down the centuries-old system that ultimately decides our next president, not the popular vote, the Electoral College. Welcome back. I'm Dale Julin. Tonight, we're getting a better look at the record-breaking early voting numbers in our states. More than 3.9 million Georgians voting early. Back in 2016, only 2.4 million people voted total, including on Election Day. In South Carolina, more than 1.2 million people have taken part in what the state calls in-person absentee voting. In 2016, only 503,000 people cast their ballots altogether. We want to show you now the latest polling numbers heading into tomorrow. A New York Times poll shows Joe Biden leading Donald Trump by at least 3 percentage points in 4 of the biggest battleground states. Biden leading Trump by 6 in Arizona, where Trump won by 4 in 2016. Biden leads by 3 points in Florida, where Trump won by 1 point in 2016. Biden leads by 6 points in Pennsylvania and 11 points in Wisconsin. President Trump won both those states by less than 1 percentage point back in 2016. Now we turn our attention to the centuries-old system that ultimately decides the winner. Not the popular vote, the Electoral College vote. The winner must garner 270 electoral votes, and this year, because it is now a swing state, Georgia may be the one that puts the winning candidate over the top.
The 8 states that political experts say should decide the election are Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Michigan, Minnesota, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Both candidates will win their share of other states, but there's a road to the White House that the winner must take.
Pennsylvania is a big deal.
The states through the Midwest are a big deal. So that's what your path is looking like right now.
Jeffrey Bowden is a political science professor at Savannah State. He says when it comes to getting to the magic electoral college number of 270, this year is different than 2016 because new states that used to be solid red are now toss-up states for the Democrats, not so much for the Republicans.
States, the states that seem to be maybe turning purple right now, like Georgia and Texas, ultimately aren't needed by Joe Biden. Donald Trump really needs them, but Biden doesn't necessarily need them.
The states are turning into politically purple states because more college-educated people from other states are moving south, following expanding companies, taking advantage of job opportunities, and our warmer climate. As a result, Georgia's political climate has changed as well. Relatively recent new residents are joining forces with longtime urban residents. The rural Republican vote remains strong, but
I think Biden is going to win. I have been fascinated with the turnout, everything that I'm seeing so far with early voting, with absentee voting. I think Biden will pull it off. And it'll be interesting to see what happens after that.
Recent polls show Biden actually leading President Trump in Georgia. But Professor Bowden reminds us all that, depending upon the outcome of the Electoral College, a candidate can win the popular vote by a landslide and still lose the Electoral College. Can you say Bush and Trump?
Because I think the distinction between the popular vote and the Electoral College vote is problematic, especially twice in the last 20 years. It could happen a third time.
The race to 270. Starting tomorrow night, we'll be tracking the results from so many important races across our area. Here is a look at some of the bigger ones. As for Congressional District 1, which covers Chatham, Glenn, Liberty, Long, McIntosh, and Wayne counties, as well as parts of Effingham, Democrat Joyce Griggs is challenging Republican incumbent Buddy Carter. Carter seeking a fourth term in Congress. Griggs is a retired Army lieutenant colonel who served 33 years in the military. In District 12, which affects Appling, Bullock, Tatnall, and Toombs counties, as well as parts of Effingham, Democrat Liz Johnson is challenging Republican incumbent Rick Allen. In South Carolina's District 1, Republican Nancy Mace challenging incumbent Democrat Joe Cunningham. And in South Carolina's District 6, Republican John McCollum is looking to unseat Democratic incumbent Jim Clyburn. In the race for Chatham County Commission Chair, the current Chatham County Vice Chair, Chester Ellis, is going against the former mayor of Tybee Island, Jason Butelman. Butelman served as councilman and mayor on Tybee for 14 years, while Ellis has served on the Chatham County Commission for several years.
Looking ahead to Election Day, we are tracking a cold start. I'll show you the temperatures that greet you in the morning coming up. A chilly evening underway across southeast Georgia and the Low Country. A live look outside right now from our Homewood Suites on the River camera. Skies are clear. Temperatures are falling quickly across the area. It's 49 degrees right now in Savannah. Let's look ahead to Election Day. The polls open up at 7 a.m. If you're out there early, waiting in line outside, certainly bring a jacket, some extra layers. Temperatures will be cold, 39 degrees early on, even a couple degrees colder inland where there's a touch of frost possible tonight. Mid to upper 60s early afternoon, may touch 70, and then temperatures will fall off very quickly as the polls close. Your certified most accurate forecast. Let's go over the numbers now. Low 70s tomorrow, about 74 with lots of sunshine on Wednesday. We jump up temperatures late week. Also introduce more cloud cover. Slight chance of a sprinkle or brief shower on Friday. A little better chance of some rain moving in on Saturday, but it would not be all day, just some spotty showers around. Notice the nighttime lows, don't have to worry about anything cold, and also could be a touch on the muggy side this weekend with lows in the 60s, highs back into the upper 70s. The average high is now 74 degrees, but do plan on a cold start tomorrow morning. Back to you.
Okay, Jeremy. Still to come, the local groups offering free rides to the polls throughout the day tomorrow. We want to make sure you know about every resource available to you on Election Day tomorrow. And so several organizations are offering free rides to the polls, including the Savannah chapter of the NAACP. It's offering rides starting at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. And to schedule one, call the Savannah NAACP. Just a heads up, you have to wear a mask during the car ride, and so will your driver. The League of Women Voters of Coastal Georgia providing a free trolley ride to the polls or to drop off your absentee ballots. The League will provide the rides on the east side and west side of Chatham County tomorrow. If you haven't already, be sure to check out the Commitment 2020 section of our website, WJCL.com. This is a live look at the page right now. It's a great resource for you and your family for Election Day and potentially the days and weeks to come. We have everything from polling locations to absentee ballot drop-off box locations to the latest projections, the polls, and eventually results. Just visit WJCL.com and click on Commitment 2020 in the drop-down menu at the top left of your screen. Thank you for joining us tonight for our 2020 election countdown. Join us for Election Day tomorrow, both on air and online. We'll have you covered from the time the polls open until the very last result is in. If you haven't already, go ahead and download the WJCL 22 News app so you can get all the latest updates sent straight to your phone. Inside Edition is next. We'll see you back here for our news, your news, at 11.
The following is an editorial by WJCL 22 President and General Manager, Ben Hart.
I'm Ben. I'm the new President and General Manager here at WJCL 22. With more than 2 decades of news experience, I think this week is an important time to share some thoughts. We're in the middle of a momentous occasion. It's voting season. It's time for Savannah and the Low Country to speak for itself. When you think about it, there's no better time to be an American. This is what we fight for. It's the right to determine our leaders that makes us a shining beacon on the hill. To me, the most important thing I've done since I started here was to make sure that I could vote. Last Saturday, I joined thousands of other people to cast my ballot early in Georgia. What I saw at the ballot box was inspiring. At 7 in the morning, there were more than 100 people already lined up. They were ready to wait. They were determined to make their voices heard. The folks in line next to me said they were retired military, active healthcare workers, and even a college student who was on hiatus because of COVID-19. They all had a story. They all care about history. Some lean left, others lean right, but this week, they all made sure they had their own say about how our community should move forward together. Look, as the new president here at WJCL, I promise one thing. We will use every tool we have to bring you factual information so you can make the best decisions for your family. We promise to let you know what our leaders have to say. But this week, it's time to tell them what you think. Whatever it takes, this week, be sure you exercise your right to vote. Thanks for sharing this time. I'm Ben Hart.
This has been a WJCL 22 editorial.